Hey, so this will be the first video on my new channel, and today I'm going to be telling the story of my first time smoking weed. So this all happened about a month or two ago. So there's this guy who pretty much everyone knows sells, and I messaged him on Snapchat and was like, how much for $25? And he was like, 1.3 grams. And I was like, oh, great. So like, when do you want to meet? And he was like, do you need now? And I was like, no, it's fine. Can I get it in like a day or so? And he was like, yeah, sure. And so I messaged him on a Friday. So on the Saturday, I messaged him and I was like, do you want to meet up? And he was like, yeah. He was like, come to the skate park. And I was like, oh, sure. So I went to the skate park, and later on that day I had my footy game, so I had to like be pretty quick at getting it. And he took like ages to get there. But I was like, when he got there, I was like, oh, it's fine. And yeah, I gave him money and he gave me the weed, and I rushed home to go to footy. And I'd like tell my mom this big excuse as to why I was late. But she was like, oh, it's fine. So I didn't do anything straight away. I waited about a week or so. And then I hit up one of my mates and I was like, oh, do you want to smoke? I got my own weed, and I want you to like show me how to do it. And he smokes like all the time, so that's why I like messaged him. And he was like, yeah, sure. And I'm just gonna call him Steve. So Steve was like, oh, sure. So I went to school, I showed him. Me being stupid, I had it in my bag, and my bag still reeks of it. It reeks of weed today. But anyways, went to school, and that afternoon we went to the skate park. And Steve was like, oh, can I bring one of my mates? And I was like, sure. So he brought one of his mates, and his mates like has bong, lighter, everything. And we usually like, if you're gonna smoke, you usually go to like this construction site where it's like a house being built. So we rode our bikes over there, and for the first time ever, there were people working there. We've never seen people working there before, and we're like, oh, that's unlucky. So we rode down this park, like it's a really long park, and it took us like 30 minutes to get to this spot. And once we got to the spot, it was like a lake in a park with like an island in the middle, but like the lake had dried up because it was summer. So we like went to the middle, and there was like trees and like seats and all that because people always hang out there and smoke. So I got out the weed, and first we tried like smoking through this little pipe thing. It's like, I'm not sure if you've seen like a cigarette lighter that they used to put in cars like years ago. I'll put a picture up on the screen now. Well, it was like one of those that had been like modified, and it didn't work at all. It was just really dodgy. And so we found a bottle, washed it out. It was like a bottle that had been used for a bong before, and I was like, oh, I was a little bit like, that's a bit disgusting. But my mate Steve was like, no, it's all good, I do it all the time. I was like, okay. So set it up as a bong, went and got some water, and I passed the weed to my mate, and he like crushed it, packed it, all that. And then I was like, yeah, you take a hit first, I kind of want to see how to do it. And I had like no clue. I'd never even really watched anybody smoke before. So he like took a big hit, like, and I was like, oh, I didn't really care, because I bought like a decent amount, like 1.3 is a decent amount. And so my mate Steve and then my other mate Jerry, Steve and Jerry, they both like took hits, and I was all cool with that. And then it took me like 15 minutes to figure out how to use a bong. It was actually like, I was just so clueless. Anyway, so yeah, I hit it. I did it along, like, it took me ages to like actually get a good hit. And I like straight away, pretty much, I was stoned as fuck. Like I was fucked. And so we went to walk back to the skate park, and we saw a couple of my other mates walking like towards us from the skate park, and they were like, oh, are you going to skate park? We'll come back to skate park. And I was like, oh, cool. So we all walked back, and one of the guys that were coming down the path, he apparently asked me for my bike, and I said yeah, he could ride it. And I was like, oh. And I don't remember saying that, but like he was a good mate of mine, so I was all cool with it. And apparently he rode it back to the skate park. But after about 20 minutes of walking down the path, and this big group of us were like just walking down the path, and I yell to my mate Steve that's up the back a bit, and I was like, oh, do you know if I left my bike back there? Because I could not remember where I put my bike, because I rode my bike there and I wasn't riding it back. And he goes, oh yeah, you gave it to so and so, and I was like, oh really? And I could not remember that whatsoever. And then we got back to the skate park, and all my mates were there, and they're like, oh, what's wrong with him? Because I was just cracking up. Like, it was honestly really funny. I was losing it over nothing. Yeah, and then my mate's like, oh yeah, he's fucked, bro, he's fucked. But like, I didn't really understand anything at that point. I was just so confused. I felt like I was asleep, but like awake. I felt like I was dreaming. So then my mate Steve goes, oh, let's go to Macca's. And we walked into Macca's, and I ordered heaps, and I was up at the counter, and then they go, oh, it's going to be like $50. And I was like, oh, I have no money. Why am I here? And my mate Steve like walks up and he's like, no, I'll pay, it's all good. But like, if there's one thing that I learned from the whole experience, it's that Macca's tastes really, really good when you're fucked, like stoned. Like, it tastes so good, it's ridiculous. Like, I've never had better Macca's. And it was only like a $1 cheeseburger, and it tasted so nice. And so then we go back to skate park, we finish our Macca's, and I'm just laughing at everything still, having a great time. And then my mate Steve goes, oh, let's go home. And I was like, oh yeah. So we live like sort of near each other, or we ride the same way, on our bikes at least. We started riding across the oval, and I crashed into him like, no joke, 4 times. Like, I just could not ride straight on my bike. Then we get to my house, and I was like I was telling myself like, oh, you gotta like chill out, you gotta like stop laughing and stuff. Like, mum will realize and all that. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just be all chill. And I ride my bike around the back of my house to where I put it. And of course, the one day that mum is outside, she's outside hanging the washing, and she's like, oh, how are you going? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm great. And she's like, what? And then she's like, why are you like slurring your speech? And I was like, oh, I'm just sort of tired. And she's like, all right. Yeah, I like went inside and just started like laying on my bed. And mum walks in and she's like, oh, so how was your day? And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, please get out. Like, I'm about to say something stupid. And then I was like, oh, it was good. And then she's like, oh, all right, and walks out. And then I'm messaging my mate. Let's just call him Barry. And I was messaging Barry, and I'm like going, oh yeah, let's play Fortnite. But like, I could just not spell it all. I was just spamming letters pretty much, and it just made no sense. And my mate Barry was like, you're fucked, ha 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 ha. I was like, yeah. So I get on Fortnite, I'm just playing with him, and I didn't talk like the entire time. And he was like, why are you being so quiet? I was like, I don't want to like say anything stupid in case my mum hears. And he was like, oh yeah, that's fair enough. And he smokes like all the time. Like, he's a stoner. Like, he doesn't go to school or anything, he just smokes. And I played Fortnite and just chilled out, and like, it wore off after a couple of hours, so I was all good after then. But yeah, it was just a really fun experience. Yeah, that's probably the end of the story. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.
Please keep making home. I don't wanna see